How's it going? My name's Fan, and this is Church of Chug. And today we are chugging a farmhouse ale and then talking about underrated beers or breweries. So let's go ahead and start. We got Henry on my left. All right.
Hopped Up Syncomist here, drinking this Hexaploid spelt farmhouse ale from Urban Family in Seattle, Washington.
Cool. Beer lover?
Beer lover here. I am drinking Susie Sadawile. Can't really see the can. This is from Free Range Brewing, and this is a grisette, which falls under the umbrella of the farmhouse ale.
J Hunt?
Craft Witness here. I'm going to be chugging this DuPont from Belgium. I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna say brewed by Brasserie DuPont Torpé, Belgium.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
French.
Drunken Monkey?
Hey, Drunken Monkey, I'm going to be drinking Can't You See the Sunshine? It's a tart farmhouse ale with lime from 3 Stars Brewing in Washington, D.C.
Cool. Ricky?
All right, guys. Ricky with the good beer here. I am going to be drinking or chugging this Hennepin. It is a farmhouse saison from Omegang, upstate New York.
I like Omni Gang.
And she just jumped out, but she'll be back in. Our special guest today is Neva.
Hi everybody, Neva right here, also known as Sydney 2788. I will be chugging a collab with Buried Acorn and the Evergreen right out of Syracuse, New York. It is their golden ale fermented farmhouse ale with tropical notes with pineapple and herbal funk.
That sounds delicious.
Pineapple.
Nice.
A lot to remember.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I would have read the can. She's like, by memory. I got this by memory.
Yeah, I can't even
I
get
remember
into it
that.
as good as Neva, but I will say that I am drinking a P. Freeman. I heard it's like the go-to standard, if you will, saison. I've never drank this, but it says Marionberry and leather.
Leather?
Leather.
Does it smell like leather?
Little
I like the smell. I like the smell of leather, so I don't know about
on
drinking
my
it.
cologne or something, but not in my beer.
Smelling manly.
Ice Queen is back on the.
Ice
Yes,
cream.
sorry about that.
What do you got?
Had a casualty. I have Madeline from Pure. It's a farmhouse saison, and I picked this up this week, so should be good.
Cool. All right.
What's left of it?
Yeah, is it just me or it seemed like they don't seem to have that much as I would expect them to?
Well, the wine only had one.
Anyways, all right, J Hump, you're in the center. Why don't you go ahead and count us down when everyone's ready?
Okay, everybody, glasses up.
No, ready.
Get ready for this. 3, 2, 1. Cheers.
Cheers.
I hate everything about that. I still stings. It's so spicy.
Don't fear the spiciness. Embrace it.
Just think about a hay smoothie is what I just drank.
Oh,
Mine tastes like a horse blanket.
This
I'm
was
so happy to
loaded
have
with.
something with pineapple in it.
This is loaded with oranges, so all I got was a lot of orange, a little bit of the funk. But Wetness, this is the first time you're drinking one of the funky beers, right?
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Oh, yeah, sorry, dude.
Good introduction to the beers, guys.
Yeah, no, what a kick in the pants, man.
Is this the horse blanket beer, right?
And that's actually the legit farmhouse ale. Saison DuPont is
Yeah.
that's where farmhouse,
Yeah.
Yep. That's a legit farmhouse.
Yeah.
I say we.
So I have a question. Is it normal to have like this much
Yes.
sediment at the
Yes.
bottom of
That is yeast. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's what
Super
got me
normal.
like, I can't.
We call those flavor nuggets.
Yeah,
There you
man. He paid for it, so he might as well drink it.
Yeah,
I got a free beer yesterday for sediment.
nice.
So mine actually, with the lime, it actually was like a pina colada in a way.
Nice.
Nice.
So was
Like
it
I mean,
smooth,
like
or-
it was very tart, super carbonated. But the lime finish on it was actually kind of refreshing.
So you would drink it again?
I would.
That was pretty
Just
good.
not chug it.
Now this was canned in June of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that holds.
Is that about normal for farmhouse and stuff like that?
They hold up, I believe. Like Saisons, Grissets, farmhouse, yeah, they're meant to hold up for quite a while.
Traditionally, farmhouse ales are brewed and stored in the wintertime and drank in the summertime for farmhand workers.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, they're meant to be stored.
Drop
You're
that knowledge,
natural.
Neva. Drop that
That's good.
knowledge.
Yeah, no,
info right there.
it's the Never Show right now.
Right?
Oh, come
Never
on.
know. Well, like,
This is the Group Nut Show.
So with that, let's clear our palates and see what we got going. I usually like to wait till the end, but I just want to throw mine in there because I absolutely think as far as underrated beers or underrated breweries, both of these brewers, at least now are starting to get attention, but they are not getting the attention they deserve. I think they deserve way more, and it's a collaboration because I'm a sucker for collaboration. But I got a Pure Wren House collaboration. I love Wren House, love Pure. I know Pure's starting to get their name out, but Wren House from Arizona, it's about as good as it gets, man.
that is delicious beer right there.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I love Pure. Everything Wetness ever sent me of Pure, I've enjoyed. For sure.
Yeah, it's just like you would expect. Freaking delicious juice.
I would say both of those breweries are very underrated.
Yes.
But same can, you got two underrated breweries. Wren House does make really good stuff.
Really, really great beer. Henry, what you got?
So I've actually gotten into these beers quite a bit now. Jack Abbey's craft lagers. They're actually very underrated. They don't produce a lot, but the lager style is what they're producing. So this one actually stood out to me, and it's a Brazilian style malt beverage brewed with corn, passion fruit, guava, and pineapple.
Man,
That sounds good.
I'm doing just a little bit.
Al, what do you got?
I was gonna go with something that I think I drank by accident after drinking too much. Normally, I would have gone with a Resident Culture, which I love, and I find them to be very underrated. But also, Brewery West is also another one of those breweries.
Yeah.
They make really great tasting beers, but they don't really get a lot of recognition. So to me, this is a very underrated brewery. Great tasting beer comes out of this Los Angeles, California, but we don't really hear too much about it often, in my opinion.
J-Hump, I already saw it. Let's hear it.
Oh yeah, I got my my Black Pine thanks to Ice Queen down there. This is my second time having it. It's very delicious West Coast.
Pure.
Yeah,
Pure.
can't go wrong with beer, you know.
You cannot. I think we need to actually get something going with Pure because I think we're one of the few podcasts that like promotes them like crazy.
Sure,
We love
definitely.
them.
Yeah.
Drunken Monkey?
Get me, come back.
All right.
I got to get something.
Ricky, what about you?
All right, guys. So I went with this brewery from New York. It is Timber Ales. This is actually a collaboration with Timber Ales and Casa Agria. But Timber Ales, I think, from what I've drank from them, we sometimes get the cans down here. I know they're associated with 12% in Connecticut, but I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out of these guys in the near future. Definitely, people need to be on the lookout for Timber Ales.
Oh, Sam?
Actually not drinking necessarily the underrated, but I am drinking the backseat bingo that I got from you it's a meadery. It's handcrafted session mead. Hopefully it's good. I haven't tasted it yet, but it looks good. It has lactose in it, orange and hoppy. For my underrated brewery, I would say Wild Barrel. I really enjoy a lot of their stuff. And then I think sometimes it gets like the wrong idea that it's just gimmicky stuff, but they actually do make really good beer. So that was one I wanted to mention for underrated.
As far as Wild Barrel, I don't know if you guys tried On the Juice. It'll be like, Sam on the Juice or whatever on the Juice. All that series is freaking amazing. So
Yes.
absolutely right. Drunken Monkey, you ready?
Yeah, so I had to get a towel because the foam poured over and made a big ass mess. So I'm also going with Pure. It is honestly one of my favorites. I think it doesn't get necessarily the same recognition as a lot of the other breweries. This is Clouds of Delusion. It's a double IPA.
Nice.
Mhm.
Neva?
I'm still cleaning up my mess a
Sour.
little bit.
Me too.
So I'm a big IPA snob. So the most underrated IPA for me is either a sour IPA or a black IPA. I don't fuck with sour stuff, so I went with a black IPA from K2.
Nice.
And I feel like most people don't really.
I'm surprised that we don't see more black IPAs. Like they were very
Right.
popular a little while,
Yeah.
and they just
Right.
dropped off.
They're not
What's up,
popular.
Cisco? You haven't had a good one yet. That's why.
That is actually an underrated style, to be honest.
Very
So,
much, yeah, very much.
I got a black IPA from Humble Sea. I can't wait to dip in that on our episode.
I heard that one is great, dude.
Oh yes.
Honestly, to me, black IPAs are like stout light. That's all it is. It's
Yes.
like watered down stouts. And I don't like stouts, so why am I going to do a stout light? It's just,
I would say they're a little more like porters.
I've had them go where they're leaning more towards a stout, almost like a Guinness, because of the hoppy feel to it. It's kind of like a very straightforward. I don't want to say bland because you get flavors from the hops, but it's gonna be bitter too as well. But it's no dessert stout, that's for sure.
Would you?
so I'm curious, Sam, you are actually drinking one of the most highly rated meaderies in the entire world, or at least the US, with Superstition. Feel free to be as honest and be like, I hate this or I love it. What do you think? I'm curious.
No, it's definitely different. And when I tasted it, I didn't expect it to be so sweet.
Mhm.
It's definitely like a dessert type, this beer, definitely. And I think I saw it, expected it to be a little bit more hoppy, but it's really good. I like it. It's almost like a orange creamsicle in a beer, but I've had that before and it's a lot more beer, but this one is just like kind of a really good middle road between those. So it's really good. I like it. Thank you so much.
No worries. So
You're welcome.
J Hunt and Rich, you are kind of the newer ends of the beer drinkers. And we'll get, like, obviously everybody else is more in depth, more experienced drinking, obviously. But why do you guys think there are underrated breweries and overrated breweries? Like, why do you think that there are breweries like Pure that most people don't talk about? I'm curious from your newer views.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, I'll go. I think it has.
Ricky's on a roll tonight.
I think it has a whole lot to do with advertising, and some breweries they advertise their stuff a lot, and breweries like Pure they don't really advertise it. They're pretty confident in their work. They don't got to advertise because people would just come to them because they'll just sell out like quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, the overrated breweries are like those big giant breweries, and just everybody just flock to because you just see that name everywhere.
Right.
So can I ask a question? Do you guys think underrated, when you think of, like, let's say we say an underrated brewery, do you think it's like a new and coming brewery, or is it like somebody that's been around? They're just not getting they're not getting the hype that they need to be getting, or like, because this was kind of difficult for me to pick a brewery that I think, for me, let's say, and I'll tell you what I think. When I hear the word underrated, I'm thinking not necessarily a brewery that is just starting or is fresh, but for me, a brewery's been one that's been around for a bit and it just is not getting the hype that it needs to get. Right?
Yeah, I think distro has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, I think you're right, 100%. So let's just hear. Anybody want to define what underrated beer or brewery is to them? Because Ricky, I think you gave us your definition. Anybody else? Henry, you look like you're poised to say something, man.
No, but I think I would agree.
Locked and loaded with something.
I would agree with Ricky. I think it's you have the underrated beers that are up and coming breweries that are producing good things. Like, for instance, Fidens. They're super underrated. They're so Fidens is in New York. They're in between somewhere near Albany. Yeah.
Okay.
But another one they've been around for a while, and Juicehead Boy actually sends me quite a bit of them. It's called There Does Not Exist. And these guys are killing it. I'm like, so I think when it comes to even overrated beers, I think a lot of people hype it up too much.
Right.
And so it's like, you know, like Craft Witness said, if you promote your beer, you know, you get it out there, then I think it's sometimes overrated, you know, but if you're underrated, you know what you're producing. So you don't have to promote as much as you need to.
Exactly.
Right.
Neva or Sam, what do you guys think?
Well, with the both of us being from upstate New York, I feel like a lot of breweries in upstate are very underrated, mainly because they're simply not in distro really, and like we have a lot to offer. I mean, New York State back in the day was like one of the leading hop crop producers in all of America, right? So like it died off and finally just came back up in like the early 2000s. So now we're slowly seeing like microbrews popping up more and more, where we're Finger Lakes area is more mainly known as like wine country and stuff like that, but like we're slowly getting back into like microbrews and different breweries popping up. So I think distro has a lot to do with being like undermining or whatever, because everything I've ever sent out, a lot of people love upstate New York beer. So there's a lot to
I think one of the best things that I love most about the beer community and trading community is that a lot of breweries are, you don't realize they're underrated or overrated, whatever, until you literally get them. Because there are some breweries that I'd never even heard of, and people are like, okay, you obviously want this because you have Monkish or whatever. And I was like, okay, and I got their stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. And then my boy here, Ricky, hooks that up with Finback because he's just like, oh yeah, it's a brewery. So I would say they're probably rated well, if not correctly, in the East, but on the West Coast, people don't even know they are. And I freaking love Finback. I don't know how many times I've said it. But I think it comes down to like trading and trusting who you're trading with to get amazing shit. Like I think one of the best people as far as that is actually Al. You always say semi mom and pop places because they're underrated, if you will. And I'm sure you've tried shit that most people living in the same state don't even know exists, but you get it and you're like, yes, that's great. Thank you for sending it to me, you know? So,
I definitely appreciate the mom and pops. And as far as like the whole like underrated, I mean, for me, it's the established brewery that just didn't catch on. They make a great product, but just there's no real buzz about it. It could be anywhere from like what Neva said, the distro, which is now being more widely done because of COVID. There, you know, breweries can't.
That is like one plus side from COVID is that this
mailing
beer to people right to their house. Like that's the one plus for breweries. I feel like
labels, marketing, ease of accessibility, all those things can really like, you know, kill a fucking brewery. But ultimately it's us who actually buy these beers and post it and stuff that really help promote their success and stuff. But if you also have to think like somebody like Monkish, was Monkish out before Pure Brewing? Does anybody know that?
Say that again?
Was Monkish out before Pure?
Yes. I think so.
Right. Yeah. So it's the other point is whoever got to that area first, you know, who's ever beer's been out first, you have a fan base that's really dedicated to them and not really like giving anybody else that opportunity to shine like Pure. So that's how I think about it.
Right. So here's one that Cisco sent me. He sent me an Ad Astra Crowler. Ad Astra's up and coming, but Will, the head brewer and one of the founders there, he has an extensive background in brewing. And I would put Ad Astra up there with Ren House right off the bat.
I put him up there with anybody, dude. Ad Astra, not to get too much on a tangent, but their shit, literally everything I tried was as good as anybody else. Like there was nothing that I drank from them, everything from the sours to IPAs to West Coast, that there was nothing that I drank that I was like, yeah, you could do better. Everything was freaking phenomenal.
And they're pretty humble, huh? It sounds like they're pretty humble.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And going back to Sydney's point, Neva's point is, I think you're 100% right with the distribution, because I don't think Ad Astra cares really to distribute. Like, the money that comes out of that is not just too much, but it's something they don't even really want to focus on. They just want to make good beers and pump them out to the people around them. And that brewery,
More
I think,
money
has
is more
been
true,
forever.
I think you also find underrated breweries out in the areas where like they don't get distribution, but where all the locals go to. Because when I went up to the Finger Lakes, there was plenty of breweries that I walked into that were like packed,
Oh yeah.
and you never hear about them anywhere else, other than in the Finger Lakes area. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and I've been there a few times, and I always go to those same breweries because I know they're gonna be super good. But good luck trying to get them anywhere else. You'll never get them.
Right.
So Sam, I'm curious with saturation in San Diego, I think that plays a part in why Pure's so underrated. You just have literally everyone, and if you will, the behemoth monster of stone out there that
Yeah.
pays attention. So like, do you think that's a big part of it, at least San Diego breweries?
Yeah, I think so too. And in San Diego it's hard. Like you said, we have Stone, Coronado, AleSmith's even bigger than Pure, and
Everything down
I
there.
think they overshadow, especially because the restaurants will pull in kegs to serve, but it's always going to be your, AleSmith, Stone, all of those, because they just have such a bigger market down here in like the tourist stuff.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they have more restaurants, but when it comes down to like actually doing stuff in the community and the way they have their employees and things like that, can't really compare them, because Pure just is like a good company all around. And I noticed that a lot of the people that like live locally down to Balboa Park, and even I was up at the Pure in Miramar earlier today, like they will stay steady no matter what they do, because once you try it and you realize how good it is, then you're going to keep going back. But I think from what Ricky said about people not really knowing about those good breweries, I feel like that's the best part to me as a beer drinker, is that I could order Pure and yeah, it might sell out, but if I get on time and get on there, I can order it and pick it up 3 days later and they'll hold it for me. When you deal with someone like Monkish, it's like you have to give your firstborn child just to be able to pick up from them. And I'm gonna go with the good beer that is low key every time, if that's the way they are with their
Yeah.
customer base. They lose a lot of that.
So a huge question, I'm opening it up to everybody. Do you guys kind of wish that your favorite underrated brewery or beer kind of stays underrated so that you keep getting it?
Yeah. Keep it all to myself.
Sure.
Not to be a jerk, but it's true. I'm like,
No, it's your secret, your private little secret.
Mhm.
It's your own little thing, to make it big, everybody's not going to get it. Then the company itself gets bigger, it goes to distro, and there goes, your
Mhm.
personal little gem that
Yeah.
you thought was your own, but now it's not.
and we're like the worst because when we get a gem, we're like, everybody try this, try this, try this. And we're making the popularity grow. And we're like,
Mm.
yeah, we're
It's funny though, I have noticed some people will message me about Pure, and this is a while back, like maybe last year or so, but they were like, why do you like Pure so much? I've tried it and it's not that great. And I was like, hey, if it's not for you,
Yeah.
let it not be
exactly.
for you. And
Everybody
these are,
palate is different.
Or for me.
yeah, it's the same people that are like, buying Monkish for $15 a can. So I'm like, good, you keep
Hell
yours,
no.
I'll
Yeah,
keep
fuck that
mine.
noise.
It always
Yeah.
kills me when people go out of their way just to say stuff like that to you. though.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what I
like,
mean? It's like,
why do you care?
okay, like that's you, not me. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Most people get the beer for the picture. Hey, look what I got.
Yeah.
That's where the
Yeah.
hype is created, really,
Yeah,
because
bragging rights.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
want bragging rights.
and
Everybody,
I know we've talked about hyping up beers, but I think a lot of the times some of the smaller breweries, like they don't have that cool picture on the label or anything like that, and like
Right.
the Instagram folk want that cool picture, and that's how they get all that hype. But then you get, because I know I've seen a lot of Pure cans. They're pretty plain. They just have their
Mhm.
logo and and they're very there's not
Very
too much
simple
to
can.
them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple. Very simple.
That's how
So,
K2
like,
cans always look like this. It's just the color changes, but it always just says K2 and just
Brewery
like a
West is solid
name.
though.
It's just called Black IPA. There's no name.
I mean, another one that beer lover and Ricky, you can attest to this is Fifth Hammer. Like I literally do not want Fifth Hammer to blow up. Like I don't.
Hammer is
That is the
I'll
hidden
agree with
freaking
that.
gem. Like literally.
They make great fucking beer, and I gotta tell you, it would be a shame if I had to go there one day and I have to wait online. That's the other thing. I don't want to wait online to get my favorite beer. So let the ones that are not, being, blown up, not be blown up, and let the people who really enjoy craft beer enjoy it at their leisure and not have to wait online, like 450 North and Monkish, all those other ones.
So
Did I say 450 North? Sorry.
So are we doing everybody a disservice by always hyping and promoting these guys that we find are
No, we're just showing love, bro. That's the way it is.
okay,
Just
I know.
with
All
the
love, brother.
last few minutes, what I want everybody to do is just name off anybody you want, like breweries or a type of beer or whatever it is, that you specifically think need to get more credit than they currently get. And like I said, the irony is, yes, that we're going to be saying breweries that people are going to be paying attention to, and we're like, shit, don't go to this brewery because I don't want people going to. For example, I'm going to say a couple which I've always been down with, local craft brewing, like Pure, Rent House, AZ. In Arizona, I just got the Shot Beer Co., which freaking was, I thought, amazing. Only had like one or two ever since I went there. Freaking love it, and way too many to name. Brujeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still gotta try them.
But I'll just throw those in there right now. Anybody want to name any that you're just like, if you want beer, check the spot out? Anyone?
For me personally, definitely is Resident Culture. Another one would be Divine Barrel. They also make really good beers that nobody really knows about.
Nice. Anybody else? Never, Henry?
Mine would be Beer Tree, Aurora, and
Yes.
Prison City, of course. But Prison City's on the up and up, where they're kind of like on that borderline of probably not being so underrated, because Distro's probably happening for them very soon.
Get me
Which
some.
I'm super excited for. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like,
Beer Tree is definitely a great beer that no one knows about. Their stouts
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
they do really
Great
good.
location,
I
too,
don't
by
know
the way.
about yeah.
The brewery is awesome. Beer Tree. I'm gonna go if it's cool. I'm gonna go with Tin Barn. These guys, you need to get these guys. These guys are excellent people, excellent brewery, excellent location. I want to hype them up as much as possible, but I also don't want them to change. So.
Yeah, that one.
Rich, Henry, Sam, anything?
I think I'm gonna go with District 96. That's just because that's my boy, But the other two easily, I would say Fifth Hammer, and one that really doesn't get a lot of recognition in the Brooklyn area is Folks Beer, and those guys are putting some pretty good.
Yeah, Folks Beer is actually pretty good.
So,
Give me some, Henry.
okay.
Drunken Monkey.
Yeah.
J-Hubs.
I would say the biggest thing is consistency, that that you're going to get consistently a good beer, whether it's an IPA, a sour, or a lot of breweries are expanding and doing a lot more beers. And I think consistency really matters. To me, it's going to be Pure. It's going to be locally from here is going to be Oliver Brewing. Another one that I just had recently, and everything I've had from them is Fieldworks is another one, and LAL Works. Those two right there. Everything I've gotten from those two has been solid. So, like I said, consistency. I've had different brews from each one of those, and consistently they've blown my mind.
Sam, J-Hub, anything?
I think down here in Chula Vista in San Diego, I really enjoy Three Punk Ales. They don't really can or bottle a lot, and that part holds them back, but I think they're comfortable with the way they are.
Yeah.
So if you're ever down in this area and you want to get something straight off tap, their beers are really, really good. I'm always like, do you have cans? And they usually don't. I guess that's a good thing though, because beer on tap is way better anyway. But them, and I always hype up Chula Vista because they're a family brewery, and they're really trying, in that Browner Than Ivan was so good. Some of their hazies and stuff like that, they need to come a ways, but that's what they're doing. And I would hype them up too. And Pure is like my favorite. Them and Hudson Valley are probably my top 2 favorite breweries. So
Jay, anything?
I'll go with the beer that I was drinking, Brewery West. They're definitely underrated, and they got very delicious beers. My first beer from them was absolutely delicious, almost like just my knees buckled. They were experimenting with not IPAs, stouts. They had a stout that I tried, and they were so humble about it. It was so delicious. Like, man, you should hype this up. They're like, no, man, we don't need to hype this up. it was that they're good. It was a stout with pistachios. So just imagine that.
That sounds good.
good.
I think one of the interesting things too about like underrated isn't, you think about more like the trading game, because it's what people want. Underrated because maybe in your area people know Pure, in San Diego people know it's solid beer, but when you look at the East Coast, some people are like, I don't know Pure, I'm not going to want to trade my good stuff for whatever Pure is.
So they don't know
So that plays a part in it. But I will say locally, Hamilton has my heart. Love that.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
They got good stuff.
I got 2 more real quick.
Go for it.
Bridge and Tunnel out of Queens and Gun Hill out of Brooklyn. I mean, sorry, not out of Bronx. Gun Hill out of the Bronx, man. Those 2, I definitely got to shout out those
breweries.
Anybody
Too
else
many
want to
today,
say something?
but definitely those guys came out in my mind.
Throw any you want. Anybody. We're going to cut it out soon. Then you get into what is underrated, because is Green Cheek underrated in the East Coast? Because it's the shit out here in the West. So.
I wouldn't say they're. It depends. I mean, I've had it, so to me, they're not underrated. They're on par with with Monkish and some of the other heavy hitters, but I find them better than Monkish.
I would disagree with you on that. I would disagree with you. Even on the West Coast, there are an underrated brewery compared to Monkish, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, compared to those guys, yeah.
They don't get that much hype.
Monkish,
Right.
they are very underrated.
But I
don't
mean,
get that
in
much hype.
general, like if people know good beer, they're not underrated.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right.
But then you even got like Highland. I live on the West Coast. I live like 40 minutes from Highland Park. I've had it once. It's all messed up.
Yeah, Highland's
Highland actually makes good beer too. They make
yeah,
really good
Highland's
beer.
really good beer.
Yeah.
With that
Boomtown.
being said, any last comments or remarks anybody want to add?
I think if anything, there's a lot more underrated breweries than there are hype breweries. There's a very small amount of hype brewing that gets a lot of attention, and there's a lot of great breweries that don't get enough.
If there's one takeaway you guys should take from the church and the elder Al is don't just stick with the hype beers. Try to mess with the mom and pops, because you're gonna find something amazing.
Definitely.
Don't miss out on what mom and pop are doing.
He practiced what he preaches, man. He never asked for your big hype beer. You send him anything,
Well, I think at the end of the month, our Connecticut trip is pretty much going to be all mom and pop places. So
I'm going to try to do my best to do as well. I'm tapping into my sources to find out the best route to get all the breweries that we can get that are not like hyped up brews. So.
And Al and Henry can attest to this. We've had delicious beers out of a 1-barrel system.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. So
seek those guys out, man. Seek out the mom and pops.
That being said, this is Church of Chug. Thank you, Neva, our special guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neva.
Being on, Neva.
That being said,
Thank you.
thanks.